pleased to be joined by our reigning race winner, Josef Newgarden. Josef, you are one of only 4 drivers to ever win here at the track. What does that mean to you, especially considering that last year was your first career win?
Well, it's good. I think it's good if you win anywhere, right? You know, you win an IndyCar race, it's kind of a big deal. It's very difficult, as everyone knows, to win one of these races. Barber's particularly tough because it's kind of hard on the tires here. You know, you have a lot of tire degradation throughout the race that you have to deal with, and you know, it's tough to beat the Ganassi's and Penske's at that. They're normally really good at taking care of their tires, so. It felt great for us. We've always been kind of strong here from a speed standpoint, you know, thereabouts in the top 10, and I think last year we made a good leap forward and got inside the top 6, and then the race was really, really good for us, and we were strong and could really run with anyone, I felt, that day. You know, could control the pace and not cruise out front, but we just, you know, we could do our thing and saving fuel, and it seemed like a really clean run to the finish. So it means a lot. You know, I think this is one of my favorite racetracks. I was thinking about it coming in. You know, it's one of the best tracks we go to. It's so beautiful. They do just an amazing job, I feel like, at this facility. It's a pleasure to come here and run, you know, and you get a lot of fans because of that. It's a great place for people to come watch an IndyCar race, and it's really a fun track to drive. So to be able to win here and get my first win, it's always going to be pretty special to me now.
Aside from the track and its beauty, do you think it might be one of your favorites because it's kind of almost like a home race for you? You're from Nashville. It's probably one of the closest IndyCar races to Nashville, aside from maybe Indianapolis.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's always said that it's my home track, so you know, that's stuck, which is fine with me. I grew up in Nashville, obviously 3 hours away, and you know, this was one of the tracks when I was a kid. I was, you know, 16, 17, but when I was racing junior Formula cars, this was one of my favorite tracks. I loved running Skip Barber cars around here. I always thought it was just a blast, and that was really the only car I had driven other than the Indy car around here. So, and it was not nearly as powerful, not nearly as fun. So to drive an Indy car around here is really a treat, and it's always been one of my favorite tracks. So it's close to home. It's one of my favorites. It's now the place where I got my first win. So it's going to be a very special track, I think, for me for forever.
A lot of factors there. How's the season going so far for you and your team?
We've had a slow start to the year. It's not been as good as we've wanted. It's not been as terrible as it probably could have been. You know, St. Pete was tough for us. We had kind of an electrical gremlin that put us out of the race, so that started the foot off really wrong. And then I think Phoenix was kind of a tough pill to swallow. I felt like we had really good cars there, both Ed and I, and just we weren't able to capitalize on that. You know, we finished 6th, which wasn't bad, but wasn't near the potential, I think, of what we had around there. So that was tough. You know, I think we had a winning car to compete there, and it would have been nice to race Scott and some of the other guys at the end. And then Long Beach just was slightly underwhelming. You know, we were in the top 10 all weekend, but couldn't really climb to the top 5 like we needed to. I think we could have finished a little higher than 10th in the end of the day, but, you know, probably 6th or 7th is where we lied that weekend. So, you know, that was just, it was what it was. We were a little underperforming there, and I think we got a great team. You know, there's no doubt about that. I've got a lot of confidence after what we did last year. You know, I think that gives you a lot of confidence when you can go and compete at so many different tracks like we did last year. So I don't have any lost faith in what we're doing. I think we'll be good this weekend. It was a little weird first session, if anyone was watching that. You know, tires and the way the track temp sort of trended through the session. I think that's why you saw everyone so scattered. I mean, you saw, you know, Elio at the back, Will kind of back to midfield. We were midfield. Scott was midfield. Like, it just was a little more scattered, I think, than people would normally see, and that's, you know, just a strange session from tire usage and track temp, in my opinion. So we'll see how it evens out over the weekend. I think we'll be a little closer to the front, but we got a little bit of work to do to be as good as last year, I think.
We'll open up for questions, starting behind.
Yeah, how's it going, buddy?
Good, man.
You talked about this being a great track for you, but being the defending champ for the first time, there are a lot of extra things that come with that. How do you handle that for the first time and dealing with also needing to get the work done for you?
I mean, I think the biggest thing is people expect you to be really good when you come back. You know, if you won somewhere, they're like, wow, you're gonna go back and have a really easy time, right? Because you guys were good last year, and that's not always the case. You know, things change year to year. We've got differences on the Chevy side with the kit that we've got to figure out. Confident in that, but you know, that's one of the changes. And then tires can slightly change year to year. The track can change slightly. Other teams can improve or drop depending. So there's a lot of things that change over season to season. And, I don't think it's a guarantee that you come back and you just have a smoking fast race car again and, you go out and win. You could be 12th the next year. So I hope that's not the case. I think we'll be good. But that's kind of the biggest thing I've noticed. Everyone just expects you to be, the guy that weekend again. You won here last year, so you're going to do it again, right? And hopefully we can do that. I got confidence we can.
Joe?
Joseph, how much of the slow start you had mentioned for the start of your season do you attribute to going back to a single car team on the road and street courses?
I don't think it has much to do with that. I think there's other differences that are, we're working through. The kit side is a little different on the Chevy, and it's been more different than I think we accounted for. I don't think having only one car affects the way that we've progressed through that over the winter until now. I think, we've got pretty much the same group of people. We really don't have many differences. There's just obviously one less car on the road and street courses. Phoenix, we got Ed still there and I'm working with Ed just the same. And, I think we had kind of a slow start at Phoenix too for what we did result-wise. So I don't know if it's just, trying to work out some of the gremlins right now, with what we're doing process-wise each weekend. I feel like we're just not, we just haven't, clicked as significantly as we did last year. But last year was kind of the same thing. It took us a couple rounds to get going. We got a win finally, and then kind of floundered a little bit in the middle and then picked up again. So, those swings are pretty normal. Ideally, you'd like to have no swings. It's just good at the start and then even all the way across. So I think we're trying to minimize that, but we've certainly had a little bit of a downward dip. I don't know if it's so much because we're lacking one car, and I think we've got the same people. So I don't think that's a huge factor.
Tony?
Joseph, how different has the racing been this year? The fact that there were no cautions last race, there was only, I think, the 1 or 2 at St. Pete back-to-back. I mean, how difficult is it knowing that there's might not be very many passing opportunities if you don't have restarts?
Well, that puts an emphasis on qualifying. We were talking about that this weekend. You got to qualify well, it seems like. For all you know, and me, it could have like 10 cautions here on Sunday for some reason. We haven't had many, and then all of a sudden we have a bunch. That seems like that's normal to happen, right? We don't know when we're going to get a race that's caution-free. I don't know what's causing that. I don't think it's anything on the kit side. I don't think it's any other factors. It's kind of just strange when it happens. It's happened before, too, where we really didn't expect a caution-free race, and we go caution-free. So I don't know if it's, just all the drivers having a certain day and it's just the way it works out. So, yes, to answer your question, we're thinking about that. I think we're just thinking qualifying is very important right now. Hopefully we don't have I don't know what's going to happen. I'd like to see some cautions in the race. I think it helps if you're obviously 5th or 6th. But if you're leading the race, no cautions is pretty good. So it really just depends. But we're going to try and focus on qualifying well, and I think that puts us in the best chance to do well.
Chris?
Joseph, last year it rained on Saturday, obviously throwing a wrench to the situation. It's forecast to rain today as well. How much is that going to set you guys back?
I don't think it's going to be bad. We weren't expecting to necessarily run today yesterday. We thought it was going to rain all day today, and now it hasn't. We've already run P1, which was more than we expected, and then it looks like completely sunny skies for Saturday, Sunday. So I don't think anyone's really going to be set back. Even if we miss practice 2, I don't think it'll affect anyone too bad.
We'll take one more question from Mark.
You have the competition this weekend, but then early next week you're involved in another competition, American Ninja Warriors. Tell us how excited you are for that and what you've been doing to prepare for it.
Oh yeah. So if no one knows, it's like me, Elio, TK. We're going to do American Ninja Warrior next week, which I don't know why we said yes to that, because I don't feel like any of us are prepared to do that challenge. But it's a crazy cool opportunity. Not a lot of people get that chance to go try that obstacle course, and we're going to try and do that. I've had one day to really prepare for it. We've been on the road traveling so much, and you can't just go into the gym and do pull-ups. That's not how you train for that type of competition. It's very specialized. If anyone, I don't know if anyone in here has seen American Ninja Warrior. It's it's all technique. Like, it's all specific obstacles, specific techniques. You have to find a gym that has these specific things to try. And I found one place in Indiana or Indianapolis that has a it's kind of a mock setup of some of the obstacles that you have to do. And I did that earlier on Tuesday this week and tore up my hand a little bit. And I had to stop. I was like, that's all I can do for tonight. I got a race this weekend. That's that's kind of my real job. So I've had one day to test. I was actually just talking to Elio about it, and he's kind of worried too. Like, he was like, I've only done one day of training. I don't feel prepared. And he was, he's asking what I have done, and we were talking about the salmon ladder and some of the other obstacles. So I don't know how we're gonna do. I mean, maybe one of us will miraculously do really well and represent IndyCar. I'm hoping that's the case, but I don't know. I don't know how it's going to work out.
Any final questions for Josef? Yeah, absolutely.
What are the favorite turns to pass on here, besides Charlotte's Web? I know that one.
The favorite turns in the track? Pats? What do you mean?
Best turns to pass on here at Barber?
Best turns to pass. I'm sorry. I thought you were saying best paths. For walking. I don't know. To pass... you can shockingly pass anywhere here, and I think that's the reason you can do that is because of the tires and the way they degrade. This track's a little unique that it really takes the life out of the tires halfway through the stint, and what you saw last year and the passing that you saw last year was attributed to that. I think it's a good thing. We have great Firestone rubber. It's not a knock on Firestone. It's kind of a trait of this track. It takes the tires away pretty quickly after that new tire grip, and that creates instability at the rear. The car's kind of all over the place, and you can get loose in any one of these corners really, and someone can pass you. I think your hot spots are 5. 5's always a big hot spot. Sometimes it can happen into 9, shockingly. And then my kind of favorite is into turn 16. I think that's probably my favorite spot. It's more of a low percentage passing place, but I really like getting guys out of 12, 13 in the high speed and into turn 16. So that's another place you can look for. You got it.
Perfect. Josef, good luck defending
Thanks,
your
everyone.
win
Appreciate it.
this weekend.